When I pulled into my driveway that scorching Saturday afternoon, I never expected to find a chaotic block party in full swing on my property. My name is Noah Mercer, and I've worked hard to build a quiet life in Westbrook Hills, a suburban neighborhood with neatly trimmed hedges, monthly newsletters, and the unfortunate presence of an overreaching HOA. But nothing, and I mean nothing, could have prepared me for what I came home to. Dozens of strangers dove and splashed in my backyard pool like it was a public water park. Beer cans bobbed along the surface, half submerged, while greasy fingerprints and sticky smudges coated the glass doors leading to my patio. A huge propane grill hissed and smoked on my deck, commandeered by a middle-aged man flipping ribs like he owned the place. Nearby, a group of mothers lounged under my umbrella, sipping Chardonnay with the air of women who were entitled to the property beneath them. Their children ran barefoot across my expensive Italian tiles, dripping water and popsicle juice, their laughter mingling with the pounding of pop music from my outdoor speakers. Everything I'd poured time, money, and effort into was unraveling before my eyes. But the worst part? Standing proudly near the diving board with a megaphone in hand was none other than the HOA president herself, Monica Dalton. "Welcome to your new neighborhood pool," she announced to roaring applause. I stood frozen for a moment, half convinced the sun had finally cooked my brain. My side gate, always padlocked, was flung wide open. The hinges were bent, as if pried apart by force. A laminated sign dangled from the fence. "Community pool, open access by HOA mandate." My jaw tightened to the point of pain. I stepped forward, ignoring a half-eaten sandwich squashed underfoot. Monica, completely unaware of the storm brewing behind my eyes, laughed with another resident. I walked right up to her. "What the hell is going on here?" I said, my voice low and razor-sharp. She turned with feigned surprise. "Oh, Noah, so glad you could make it," she said with a smile that could cut glass. "The HOA board unanimously approved reclassifying your pool as a community amenity based on a bylaw from 1986. We sent out a notice. Guess it got lost in the mail." "You didn't send me anything," I growled. She waved her hand casually. "It was in the newsletter. Page 6, lower right corner. We're all so thrilled about this new communal space. Think of the neighborly bonding." I scanned the backyard again. Someone had shoved one of my teak lounge chairs into the pool, and a toddler stood knee-deep in the water, pants fully soaked. My home had become a war zone. "This is private property," I said evenly. "My pool. My house." Monica didn't even blink. "Noah, when you bought this house, you agreed to the HOA's bylaws. You really should have read the fine print." What she didn't know was that I had read the fine print, and I had uncovered things she clearly hadn't. But I wasn't about to tip my hand. Not yet. I took a deep breath and walked past her to the control panel near the patio. She barely noticed. I pressed a few buttons and heard the gentle hum of the filtration system power down. The water, once sparkling blue, began to cloud within seconds. "Hey, what's happening to the pool?" someone shouted. I leaned against the fence, arms crossed. "That's what happens when untested water gets flooded with bacteria from dozens of unsanitary people," I said casually. "High risk of infection." Screams erupted. People scrambled out of the water, slipping on crushed chips and spilled soda. Even Monica looked unsettled. I wasn't finished. I turned toward her, voice raised just enough for everyone to hear. "You said I should have read the fine print? Funny you say that." I did. And here's the thing. I'm the state water commissioner. Silence felt like a thunderclap. A few partygoers exchanged anxious looks. Monica's lips parted, trying to laugh it off, but the color drained from her face. "You reclassified my property without authorization," I continued, "and you exposed over 100 people to an unregulated body of water. I should report this to the health department right now." She tried to speak, but I cut her off with a stare. Then I turned and walked inside, locking the door behind me. The next morning, I sat at my desk with a cup of black coffee and drafted an official complaint. Not a strongly worded email. A formal state filing, with a case number. By lunchtime, it had been submitted to the Department of Public Health the Environmental Protection Agency, and the county tax office. By 2 p.m., an emergency HOA meeting had been scheduled. I arrived early. The clubhouse smelled like dust and old citrus cleaner. Monica sat at the head of the table, flanked by board members who wore polite expressions but stole glances at her with increasing doubt. When I walked in, the room went silent. Homeowners turned to stare. Some looked curious, others annoyed, but a few began to question. Monica launched into a speech about unity and shared spaces. She called the incident a miscommunication and urged us to look ahead. I let her ramble, and when she reached the climax of her sugary speech, I stood. Her smile froze. "Noah, do you have something to share?" I opened a folder and held up a document. "Yes, I do. Since the HOA decided to make my private pool a public facility, I submitted the proper paperwork. As of this morning, my property is classified as a hazardous site. Due to unregulated use, it's officially closed until further notice." Gasps. "That's outrageous," someone shouted. Monica stammered. "You can't do that." I raised an eyebrow. "What's my job again?" She had no answer. I flipped to another page. "Also, since the HOA has publicly reclassified my property, I've updated its status with the county assessor's office. That means the HOA is now responsible for its upkeep, insurance, and all maintenance." A homeowner stood. "Wait, our fees?" I nodded. "They're going up. Substantially." Chaos. Monica tried to restore order, but it was too late. The room had turned against her. Voices rose in panic and anger. Some demanded she resign. I stood silently, letting the dominoes fall. The HOA, once a domineering presence, now faced implosion. The smug queen at its helm had been dethroned. And I had just begun. This wasn't about revenge. It was about respect. And I was going to make sure the message stuck. For good.